Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal was scheduled to furnish responses to questions raised by the parliamentarians on the government's policies and programs at today's session of the House of Representatives. However, the House session was obstructed by CPN-UML after its chairperson KP Sharma Oli was alleged of corruption in the gold plating of Pashupatinath Temple. Good evening, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. The government decides to send the citizenship bill endorsed by the previous parliament to the president again for certification. The president's office seeks constitutional basis for certification of an old bill. Discussions intensify as the government begins the procedure for presidential pardon for former parliamentarian Resham Chaudhary. The president suggests the government to proceed as provisioned by law. Nepal's trade deficit with India exceeds 700 billion rupees in the 10 months of the ongoing fiscal year. Private sector suggests to raise the issue of facilitating exports during the Prime Minister's upcoming India visit. And defending champions Nepal crash out of the Kava Women's Volleyball Challenge Cup, losing to Kazakhstan in 5 sets in the semi-final. Kazakhstan to face India in the title decider. The government has decided to send the citizenship bill endorsed by the previous parliament to the president again for certification. Today's meeting of the Council of Ministers has decided to send the citizenship bill to Sheetal Niwas for certification. According to a minister, the cabinet decided to send the bill, which was previously certified by both houses of the parliament, to the president again. The Council of Ministers is of the understanding that the bill should have been certified by then-President Bidya Devi Bhandari. The bill returned to the Parliament by Bhandari for revisions was endorsed for the second time by the House but was left stranded by her. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has not endorsed the proposal for presidential pardon to Nagrik Unmukti Party leader Resham Lal Chaudhary. It has been learnt that the government is to hold consultations regarding the correspondence from the Office of the President and study precedents. The bill related to citizenship, which was endorsed by both houses of the federal parliament, has remained stranded at the Office of the President for almost 1 year. The government is making preparations for certification of the bill by the president. However, the government effort is not likely to materialize as the president's office has sought constitutional basis for certification of an old bill. While issuing the government's common minimum program, Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal had said that there would be no delay in issuing citizenship for the children of those who had received citizenship by birth. Premier Dahal has been raising this issue at other public programs as well. He has already suggested President Ramchandra Podel to certify the bill. However, despite holding several discussions with constitution experts, President Podel has yet to reach a conclusion. Based on the constitutional arrangement, the President is required to certify the bill endorsed twice by the Parliament. However, constitution experts are divided on whether a bill could be certified by the President when new parliamentarians have been elected after the end of the term of the previous parliament. While many experts have suggested continuing from the previous point, some others have called for starting over. Despite the lapse of 8 years since the promulgation of the Constitution, children of those who are citizen by birth have yet to receive their citizenship. When CPN-UML chair KP Sharma Oli was the Prime Minister, the then-President Bidya Devi Bhandari had issued an ordinance related to citizenship upon the recommendation of the government on 23rd of May 2021. Saying it would be appropriate for the citizenship bill to come from the Parliament, the Supreme Court had directed not to implement the ordinance. The following government, led by Nepali Congress President Sherbahadur Deuba, forwarded the citizenship bill from the Parliament to the President for certification. However, then-President Bhandari returned the bill to the Parliament for revisions on 14th of August 2022. The House of Representatives and the National Assembly endorsed the bill again and sent it to the President. However, Bhandari did not certify the bill and left it stranded. Main opposition CPN-UML obstructed today's meeting of the House of Representatives. The meeting of the House of Representatives has now been adjourned until 4 p.m. tomorrow. CPN-UML obstructed the Parliament meeting with the demand of investigation after lawmakers of the ruling parties alleged CPN-UML party chairperson KP Sharma Oli of corruption while he was the Prime Minister by plating bronze instead of gold at the Pashupatinath temple. CP and UML parliamentarians surrounded the rostrum after the speaker allotted time for parliamentarians of ruling parties. Speaker Devraj Ghimire had then postponed the parliament meeting for 20 minutes. At the parliament session held on 24th of May, a Nepali Congress parliamentarian had alleged only of using bronze instead of gold at Pashupatinath temple. CP and UML parliamentarians demanded government investigation into the issue and removal of the statement of the parliamentarian of the ruling party from the records of the House of Representatives. Despite several calls from the Speaker to move forward with the parliamentary proceedings and looking for a solution through set arrangements, CP and UML lawmakers continued their protest. Chief Whip of the ruling party CP and Maoist Center, Hitraj Pandey, said that a solution had to be found through the parliament and criticized the opposition. Based on the schedule, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal was to furnish answers to questions on the government's policies and programs raised by the parliamentarians. Passing the government's policies and programs was also in today's agenda. The government had presented its policies and programs at the parliament on 19th of May. Discussions have intensified as the government has begun the procedure for presidential pardon for former parliamentarian Resham Chaudhary, who was slapped a life sentence after being found guilty in the Tanakpur massacre. The victims have registered an application at the president's office demanding not to issue amnesty. However, the office of the president has suggested the government to proceed as provisioned by the law. 8 individuals, including Senior Superintendent of Police Lakshman Neopane, were killed in the Tikapur massacre. The Kailali court had found 11 individuals, including Resham Chaudhary, guilty of involvement in the incident and had slapped a life sentence on 24th of February 2019. Dipal High Court then slapped a life sentence against 8 individuals, including Chaudhary, on 18th of December 2020. Chaudhary had then moved the Supreme Court against the decision on 24th of February 2021. The Apex Court upheld the verdict of the District and High Courts on 17th of May. Meanwhile, the Office of the President has sent the application registered by Chaudhary seeking a presidential pardon to the Ministry of Home Affairs, asking it to move forward by following the existing laws. Based on Article 276 of the Constitution, the President can issue a pardon or revise and reduce the sentences and actions taken by the court, judicial and semi-judicial entity and administrative officials or departments as per the laws. Despite issuing amnesty being a right of the President, even the Nepal Bar Association has presented saying a pardon should not be issued in Chaudhary's case. Legal practitioners have termed the government decision to take forward with process for a pardon to Chaudhary a wrong move. They have said that Chaudhary's case should not be given a political color. Nagarik Unmukti Party, formed by Chaudhary, is currently in the government. The party had been making the release of Chaudhary its major issue since the formation of the government. Of Nepal's total trade, 63% of it is with India. However, the trade deficit is increasing as years-long problems related to trade and transit between the two nations have yet to be resolved. Nepal's trade deficit with India in the 10 months of the ongoing fiscal year has exceeded 700 billion rupees. Experts have suggested Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal to hold discussions regarding removing Indian administrative complications during his upcoming India visit. Of the 1,335 billion rupees of total international trade in the 10 months of the ongoing fiscal year, Nepal's import with India figures 845 billion rupees. 63% of Nepal's total international trade is with India, while more than 70% of Nepal's export is with the southern neighbor. Despite zero customs facility, India has not recognized the quality certifications issued in Nepal, which has led to increase in trade deficit with India. Trade deficit with India has exceeded 7 billion rupees in the 10 months of the ongoing fiscal year. Experts have suggested Prime Minister Dahal to raise the issue of lifting the non-tariff measures for Nepali exports during his India visit. The trade agreement, which expires in October, also needs to be revised. Analysts have urged for amending the agreements with the objective of resolving problems related to release of goods from Indian dry ports and decrease costs. Adequate homework is also required regarding increasing Indian investment. The private sector has suggested the Prime Minister to hold discussions regarding electricity produced in Nepal and ease in export of Nepali goods. Meanwhile, cross-border digital payment, integrated checkpoints at customs, construction of petroleum pipelines, additional aviation entry points, and operation of 2 international airports are likely to become the major agendas of Prime Minister Dahal in his India visit. The implementation of the Pancheshwar multipurpose project, which was agreed 27 years ago, is to be discussed during Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal's upcoming India visit. Despite the decision to conclude the detailed project report (DPR) of the 6,480 megawatt hydroelectricity project, which would also provide irrigation facility for 2.8 million hectares of land within 6 months, works have yet to move forward even after 26 years of ratification of the treaty. Nepal and India had signed the Mahakali Treaty in New Delhi, India on 12th of February 1996. The agreement was reached to develop Sharda Embankment, Tanakpur Embankment and Pancheshwar multipurpose project in an integrated manner. Nepal ratified the treaty as well. However, despite the lapse of 27 years, the DPR of the project has not been completed. Nepal and India are divided on 126 points of the DPR, which was prepared by Indian consulting firm Wapcos Limited. Nepal is prepared to fund half of the investment required for energy. However, India has not paid any interest in the project because of a large settlement in the area, which is likely to be inundated during the construction of the project. A total of 6,480 megawatts of electricity would be produced from the project, which has an investment requirement of 600 billion rupees. Meanwhile, 2.2 million hectares in India and 65,000 hectares in Nepal would receive irrigation facility. The investment requirement of this project is 6 times cheaper than that of 750 megawatt capacity West Seti hydroelectricity project. The Pancheshwar multipurpose project is likely to generate 53.41 billion rupees in annual revenue. Based on the government assessment, 22,765 individuals of 2,926 households are to be resettled for the project. During his Nepal visit in 2014, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had assured of completing the DPR of the project within 6 months. However, lack of consensus on share of water has seen both nations miss out on possible benefits, while the investment requirement is increasing by the day. In our Public Voice segment today, we have asked people in several provinces what issues they think must be raised during Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal's upcoming India visit. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
खासमा अहिले त यो दुई देश बीचको सीमा विवादको बारेमा अलि राम्रो छलफल गर्नु पर्यो।
धेरै योजनाहरूको काम बाँकी छ, त्यसको छलफल हुनु पर्यो।
भारतीय रुपैयाँको सम्बन्धमा र दुई देश बीचको सम्बन्धमा छलफल हुनु पर्ने छ।
हाम्रो देशको सामान पनि सरल तरिकाले निकासी हुने चाहिँ वातावरण मिलाउनु पर्छ।
अब भारतबाट निर्माण कामको जिम्मा लिएका जलविद्युत आयोजनाहरू, सडक निर्माणका आयोजनाहरू चाहिँ एकदम छिटो र छरितो रूपमा कार्यान्वयन होस्।
खुला सीमानाका कारण हुने समस्याहरूको विषयमा सीमाको अलिअलि विवाद पनि छ र यी विषयहरू चाहिँ उठाउनै पर्ने विषयहरू हुन् जस्तो लाग्छ।
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before that, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we had asked you, how can the genuine Bhutanese refugees languishing in the camps be managed? 43% voted for A, home repatriation, 29% voted for B, third country settlement, and 28% voted for C, settle in Nepal. And here's today's question. Why has the trend of holding development projects and failing to ensure timely completion continued unabated? Your options are A, involvement of government, B, weak laws, and C. Practical complications. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. It's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Defending champions Nepal have crashed out from the semi-final stage of the Central Asian Volleyball Association Women's Volleyball Challenge Cup following a 5-set defeat against Kazakhstan. Host Nepal presented a tough challenge to a strong Kazakhstan side in the match played at the National Sports Council Covered Hall in Tripureshwar, Kathmandu today. Nepal lost the first set 28-30 before making a strong comeback in the second set, which they won 25-16. Host Nepal then went on to carry that momentum into the third set as they won 25-15 and were leading 2-1. However, Nepal lost the momentum as Kazakhstan staged a fabulous comeback and won the fourth set 25-18 before winning 15-7 in the fifth set to secure a thrilling victory. Kazakhstan will now play India in Sunday's final, while Nepal will compete with Uzbekistan for the third place on the same day. It's time now for the weather update. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.